even the most well done circumcision, your child is coming out of it with emotional and adrenal and brain damage because of the levels of trauma and pain that that child felt. So
Hello, Intactivists. Today I am with Melina. So we're doing something a little different today. First off, the difference between me and Scott's interviews is Scott likes to give the questions in advance, so he's really nice and he does do a lot of great work. But for me, I think that looks more controlled and staged. But there are pros and cons for both. So whenever you have interviews with Scott versus me, that's definitely going to be the difference. And not only that, but this video is going to be different from most of our typical videos because most questions asked from the questioners or interviewers are about themselves, and they had the lecture about talking about themselves. Melina is going to be talking about pots a little bit, so it's going to be very interesting. But anyways, other than that, Melina, how are you?
I'm doing great. It's fun to be back on the show. Nice to get to meet you this time. And I'm looking forward to seeing where it goes. Some of this stuff we're going to talk about today will be interesting, especially with, I don't know, the world's in kind of a crazy place right now. So it'll be interesting to talk about some of the things that we're going to bring up in this podcast today.
Absolutely. So I was actually watching and listening to your interview with Scott,
Mhm.
and it does seem that you do have some sales experience and just the ability to be persuasive and also building rapport. We are definitely going to be at Potts. We're going to be putting in thousands of dollars in marketing about circumcision being bad here soon, in which we're going to go over the advertisement pieces here. Now, when you see advertisement, do you ever like look at them and be like, "Oh, this is a good advertisement because of XYZ?" Or do you have any experience with advertising yourself?
With marketing, my knowledge of it is really not so much in the field as it is just research. I've been learning a lot about it for the last 2 years because in my career I have to do all my own prospecting. So you really kind of learn about what things get people's attention and what things don't. So I definitely am more of a, I analyze things a little bit. My kids do too on ads and stuff. I like to have them identify like which things are manipulative and which things are like, do you really want that? Or was that a really good ad at convincing you that you need to have that? So that's just kind of how we are in our household. But I think that the fact that my background is in communication kind of gives me an edge with it because when you know, like, how a message is received or not received by people, you know better how to target a message to them and get the message to go through. So I definitely think about what things are effective and what things aren't. Sometimes it's kind of humorous. Sometimes it's a downright offensive. When you're like, that was like, I didn't consent to that, and that's like not cool. So some ads are pretty awful. But yeah, I think there's definitely a big difference between effective marketing based on whether or not you have an understanding of your audience and what they're looking for and how they're able to receive the information or not. So
Okay.
mostly just learned a lot about it in the last few years, and I'm still kind of learning about how to do it for myself and building my own business. But I have been studying it for a little while.
All right, awesome. Well, that's great. I mean, I'm also learning too how to advertise and stuff like that. And it's actually interesting because the point of these advertisements is not to go and promote Prevail over the system. It's more or less just saying, hey, people, don't circumcise your children. So it's
Exactly.
a little different. And yeah, but I'm actually gonna go ahead and show you a few right now, and I want your opinions on them. I'm gonna show you,
That
I
sounds
think we have
awesome.
five. So
Cool.
let me see if you can go ahead and see that. Okay,
That
so
always
this is
helps.
actually our first one right here. So be honest about it, like this part. If we were to advertise this, what would you think about it?
When you say this part, are you referring to the visual or the
Like
information?
the
I think that's fantastic information, and that is one of the factors that I felt was important enough to mention in my book when I can only mention just a few. The fact that so many people think that it reduces HIV. And then you look at these kind of statistics and realize, wow, that can't be true. So first of all, I think that's a great one to use as the main topic of it. And really that's a pretty powerful visual you've got there too.
Okay,
Yeah.
awesome. So rated from a scale 1 to 10, what would you give this?
I think this is really fantastic. I think this would be really, really high up there. I don't know that I would change anything about it. I would give this a 9 or a 10. This is pretty good. I
Okay,
think
awesome.
people really love simplicity and they really like it to be easy. And it's with the difference in colors there, there's just no doubt about it. It just red representing, kind of like the harm there too. You see that, and then blue representing like I really like that a lot, actually.
Yeah, you
I
can
think
blow
that
it up
good
too.
color choices.
Yeah, you can blow it up and you can see. Can you see the circumcision by country and see the darker
Hmm.
parts? Okay, cool, cool, cool.
Hmm.
Yeah. So you could go ahead and click
Right.
on these and see what the HIV relevance is and the circumcision relevance is. Oh, also for the guys who are listening, yeah, feel free to join in the conversation. And if you want to go ahead and rate these advertisement or adverts, definitely go for it as well in the comment section. It helps Pots out. And it helps, honestly, helps the world out, I would like to think, because we're gonna reach 500,000 people here very soon, which I'll definitely talk about that later. So this is the next one. This was actually by Matthew Goodwin. This was the artwork done by him. So what do you think about this?
This one is definitely much, much more abrasive, and people are going to have a lot harder time stomaching this one. I think that the people who will not reject this image are going to be the people who are already on our side of the fence that are like, oh, yeah, to me, circumcision is a horrific thing. This matches the idea I have of it in my mind. So, like, wow, that's abrasive, but I agree. It's awful. It matches basically, it's a good image for the horror that circumcision is. However, it does not match what is in many cutter minds, and it's going to be rejected. It's like there's a denial almost about the fact that there's any blood at all. The whole concept of it's just a snip or it's just a teeny little, procedure. I think there's a real cognitive dissonance around that. And I think the image of the blood on there really stands out as, I mean, its intended purpose is to show that it does harm, but I think this is going to be a lot harder for people that are not on our side of the argument already to accept this image. They're probably going to keep scrolling a lot faster, I think, on this one.
Okay, so it's gonna like raise some walls and it's gonna activate like kind of like your fight or flight response. It's gonna
Hmm.
um
Exactly.
okay.
Yeah,
Um
especially with the fact that it's all black and white and there's just that color pop on the blood itself. It really draws you in right away and gives you kind of an alarm. Like, oh gosh. And then they're like, what is this circumcision? Oh, I don't want to talk about that because their first, instinct and feeling around it was that like it's the part of it they don't want to acknowledge, and it's the fact that it hurts the baby. It's the fact that blood is drawn and things like that. So I would have probably not received this message beforehand as much, but that's hard to say. I really wasn't exposed to almost any information before this whole situation was relevant to me. But this one, even now with my well of knowledge, I mean, I'm telling you, it's very abrasive. It's gonna have any regret moms are gonna cringe. I cringed a little because when I
okay.
saw that blood on there, it was my son's blood representative of it. And so that's a harder image for sure, I would think. Well done though. I mean, it's fantastic the concept just when it comes to what people will be willing to take in. And as I mentioned in the last podcast, if the purpose of intactivism is to have the message be received and have the minds be changed, it's really important how the message is delivered. This one might not be as received, in my opinion.
Okay. Yeah. One thing I would like to add, I do enjoy the artwork for sure, and obviously I agree with it. I don't know, like I don't know how to even it's almost like parody almost. And the only reason why I say that is because like the sale is like $1,750. I
Hmm.
think most people are gonna see this for like, oh, I got my son circumcised and it was like $200. Like this was this isn't like an exaggeration. So
Right.
perhaps just seeing that, and if you like anchor your knowledge on the sale of it, you're gonna be like, okay, well, maybe all of this is um
Wrong.
or yeah,
An
or over
exaggeration.
yes.
That's a
So
good point. I did wonder about that, and I'm like, is that price set there to say that like the cost of it is so high? So if that was the intent of the message, it was a little bit lost on me because I was like, wow, that's a lot. Are they saying that this should be what it's, what it should be charged? And I'm thinking that's really high. I know some places are that, but you bring up a good point. It's often not that much. And parents would be like, well, first of all, I didn't pay that much, only, so I think that's a good point. Even if you just change the price on there to reflect a more realistic number, that would, as you kind of, instead of unvalidated, like you were saying, I think that would support more of the facts he has on the rest of it. I didn't really get to the reading part. I was like, ooh, you did say that it is kind of feels a little bit gimmicky, So like I almost hear circus music in the background where it's like, come right up, in here for this price now. Your children 0 to 8 years old, grab your, popcorn now and blah blah blah. So it is kind of, maybe it is a little bit making almost like a mockery of it, kind of too.
yeah.
But I mean, not necessarily that was the intention of the artist, but I can definitely see how parents could take it that way where they're like, well, if you think it's such a big deal, why are you making jokes about it? So, and I don't think that was really the intention of it, but especially with the price being set so high, I think that's a good point that they might feel like it's more of a, not
Parody.
slander. Yeah, parody or the other word for parody. But yeah, basically.
Yeah, I was thinking like sarcastic, like maybe being
Mhm.
sarcastically, but so okay, so but a scale 1 out of 10, how would you rate this?
If we're rating based on a 10 meaning message most effectively received by the audience, if that's how we're rating it, I'm going to give this maybe a 5 because it's going to be 50-50 on whether or not the person's going to be immediately irked by it, and it's just going to be whether or not they are already of this opinion. So I think for the other 50% of the people who aren't ready for this information, they're not going to receive it. So that's like half the votes gone right there. So
Okay.
I'd say about a 5 on this one.
5. Okay, okay. Okay. So this one's actually a video. I don't know if you've actually seen this or not. I'm
I don't think I
actually
have seen this one.
so if I play it, can you hear it? Or could you just read the
I can just read it if I can't hear it, but I'll let you
okay,
know if I can
cool.
hear
And then I'll play for the audience, like I will like overlap it for the audience if they can. So
Seven
it. Okay.
crazy facts about male circumcision. The fifth one is insane. 1. Male circumcision was recommended by Dr. John Kellogg in the 1900s to stop the act of self-pleasuring among people, as it was seen to have caused diseases. 2. Circumcision removes about 15 square inches of functional organs, including frenulum, ridged band, inner mucosal tissue, and thousands of nerve endings. 3. Routine infant circumcision is not recommended by any major health organization around the world. 4. Many adult circumcised men do not know what they are missing, because over 98% of circumcisions happen to non-consenting children. But many, when they find out, try to restore what was stolen from them. 5. In MRI studies, circumcision has been found to permanently alter the infant's brain. 6. Other long-term effects of circumcision is unknown, could possibly be linked to ED, depression, and anger issues, which may explain the domestic violence in the USA and the Middle East. 7. Infant circumcision is considered a cosmetic and religious surgery which happens to about 30% of males around the world. Would you ever force your child to get circumcised?
okay, could you read that? Or
Yeah.
did it play through or no?
I wasn't able to hear it, but I was able to
Ah,
read it. Yeah.
okay. Okay. So what are your thoughts on it?
I mean, it took me a second to realize that it wasn't just random like satisfying video in the background. And once it settled what it was, I was just like, whoa, this is actually kind of hard to watch. All of those cuts and all of that taking away and removing and just like it really, I mean, it triggered some stuff psychologically, I think, to really, but in this case though, I feel like it was sneaky. Like the last ad, it was so like immediately abrasive. This one, you were already kind of, you've been led into like understanding that this is like removal of something, and then they're adding the information of circumcision, and then your mind kind of, it's like they kind of took a back door in where you've started to accept and realize that there's a loss going. It's kind of like a back door through the cognitive dissonance in a way. But that being said, I'm pretty good at pushing through that, whereas I think some other people might not have. It was a little abrasive. Part of it was like, oh gosh, like, just imagining that being someone being carved up in the moment. But then I was thinking about like, is this too abrasive? And then I thought at the same time, though, it's not showing any actual blood. It's not showing any actual harm. It's only portraying it, and only our minds, can make that connection there. So I feel like this did a really good job of bringing up the obvious in a way that the person watching it did kind of almost hoodwinked them. They didn't realize it right away. And by the time they did, like their mind had already accepted it to a degree before they were immediately able to reject it. So reading the facts going along with it, it was really good at reinforcing that idea of something is being taken away, something is being lost. And even though it was like the bristles of a comb being cut off, like you were like, cringing, like what would a comb be without its bristles, right? So that was awesome. I think that was a really good way of addressing how serious it is and like how significant the loss is without having the imagery being so abrasive that the person couldn't accept it. I think that was really well done.
Awesome. So how would you rate that out of 10?
I'd give that like an 8 or 9, maybe even a 10, because I received it really well. And I'm trying to think of the little bit that was a little like, ooh, a little too abrasive for me. That might have been enough for someone else to like scroll up. But so I would say only not full points, just because that might be a little bit too much for some. But I would say for the most part, this would get the attention of 70-80% of the people that are needing to have their mind changed on it. So I think this was really well done.
That's awesome. Yeah, I actually made this, and I was
You
made it
did.
with the intent of we have, people who have like ADHD type stuff, and a lot of those satisfying videos, definitely people like things that are quick and like they want to watch something while they learn.
They
So
do. And you did such a good job with the way that, see, everyone's mind's already conditioned for that, right? So their mind was already just subconscious, wide open, and just taking it in as just thinking it was just a satisfying background video before they realized what it was. So that was awesome. Really well done.
that's great. I'm glad you like it. I'm gonna go tell the people who work at Pots that, well, they'll see this too, so but whatever. Okay, next one. Okay, so this one here.
Hi, it's Scott, interrupting the interview for a moment to tell you about Potts' e-commerce program. To use it, you get the links from what you want to buy on Amazon or eBay, then you send them to Potts through X or Discord in a direct message or on order ideas on Discord, and Potts will post them in the comments on a YouTube video or in an X post. Then you follow those links that are connected to Potts' Amazon or eBay store, and you buy those items, and Potts will get a percentage of that sale. This funds Potts' expenses to promote the channel and contract with other intactivists. This does not cost you any extra money. All right, thank you, and back to the interview.
So what are you thinking?
I like this one. I do feel like I like the way they did the colors. It's acknowledging the fact that the image of the doctor with the board is like, oh, look at us, we portray ourselves as the authority that is right, but then bold standing out is kind of addressing the fact that they're wrong, they're blatantly wrong, it's a scam, it's a fraud, ultimately it's medical fraud. And I really think that the facts are really good ones. It starts off with, It's about the hospital, so you're not blaming the parents right away. It addresses the most common myth immediately, which is so many people think it's just the tip. And then they think that just the tip means similar to almost like my doctor basically told me that it was, I can't even believe this, but that it was equivalent to basically like just having fingernails clipped, as though there would be no pain or anything. So
That's
parents need
crazy.
to know that right there, that there is pain. And I think it should horrify parents to know that part of their child's body is being repurposed without them knowing. And that if it's such unvaluable skin or if it's so useless, why is someone taking it? I feel like that should be explained to the parent. It's great that that is brought up. A lot of parents don't realize how severely traumatic it is for the infant. I think the severe trauma, I think if there were more space, which of course there's not because this is just a meme, it being linked to the fact and just added there that severe trauma to the infant lasting in like permanent brain damage. Like people don't understand that trauma isn't just trauma, trauma is brain damage. And when the brain is damaged, it's at a lower function. And people need to understand that. Simply, even the most well done circumcision, your child is coming out of it with emotional and adrenal and brain damage because of the levels of trauma and pain that that child felt. So I love that it mentions that. I think more parents need to understand what severe trauma means, that it means permanent alteration to the child's brain. But again, I don't know that could have been put on here. That's a huge one that I feel like really ought to always back up the severe trauma so that parents understand that severe trauma, they don't even understand what severe trauma is. Like, oh, it's a thing that happened. So what? Well, if you understand that it affects the way that your child is currently able to think, then you realize, oh, severe trauma is actually kind of maybe a big deal where they don't really think it is. They figure as long as the kid can't remember, what's trauma, right? So that's one that gets me. It's worth adding it in there if it's possible. But and it is a cosmetic procedure and not a medical one. So I think that's a good point. So it is for profit and it's not for people. I think that's a great way to end. Like let's realize that it's not for the people, it's not for the child, it's literally a scam. So I would give this one, I'd give this one at least 8 points. I think it does a really good job giving a soft image in the background of what we've all been brainwashed to accept as the normal, as the authority. Oh, they've got the clipboard, they've got the stethoscope around their neck and the fancy robe. Like we should believe them. But what if what was written on that paper was literally the information you've got right there on that meme? How many parents would turn and run? So I think this is a fantastic one. I think that it's got great information on it and it's laid out really well.
All right, awesome. Yeah.
Did you make this
Fun.
one too?
Well, so I did, but
Hey, don't
I
tell me. I like when you don't tell me and I just find
yeah,
out later.
yeah, absolutely. No, I don't want to try to sway your opinion, but I will say that actually the only pans did help me a little bit with this because the circumcision is a scam. That made me a little nervous because I was like, man, we might get like a lawsuit like low key just because hospitals might be like, well, it's not a scam because of these BS studies or whatever. So
Right.
that's
Those are a scam too, though.
yeah, I know. And
So
man, thank
let
God
him
for
bring
the
the argument, Let him
yeah.
bring it because you've got a better argument than they do.
Oh yeah. But yeah, that was like the only concern I had. And also I was kind of surprised that you did like this because it was like kind of alarmist a little bit. Like there's literal alarm.
There is. That is more like gaining attention. It's not drops of blood.
That is
It's
true.
saying it's saying urgent matter. It's saying important medical announcement. And really with that softer image in the background of literally what we're like all programmed to like, oh, we're okay now. We're with the doctor. I really like the way that it brings up the two. It's like the familiar image that we are somewhat comforted by, and then the jarring reality that, hey, maybe you shouldn't be so comfortable where you think you should be. It's like that meme it's been circulating a lot lately that says the most dangerous place for your healthy infant is a pediatrician's office. So this kind of reminds me of that, where it's like, oh, take your baby to the doctor. And it's like a happier image in the background. But then like the reality is your baby goes in healthy, your baby doesn't come out healthy. So I think it's really well done. I'm glad you didn't use any harsher imagery. The red is very effective, and the little alarms going off is more like a hey, elephant in the room, without showing like the image of the child strapped down to a board. I think it was an effective amount of alarm, because in marketing, you don't want to tell the whole story. You want to create curiosity. And they're like, scam, what are you talking about? And that leads them to want to, look at the facts that you supplied underneath, because they're like, their first thought is, oh, it's a scam. Oh gosh, let's hear it. Everything's a scam. How is this a scam? And then they're like, oh, wow, dang, maybe that really is. So again, well done with the way you kind of snuck it in there too, because everyone's like, scammers, we hate scammers. We're always all about exposing the scammers, right? So it's almost like, who's a scam? I'm ready. Let's go at him. And they're like, oh my gosh, it's the doctor. The doctor's the scam. So anyway, if you had just come right out and said, your doctor's lying to you, they wouldn't have listened. As more as like, circumcision is a scam. How so? You know what I mean? So I think you did a really good job with the psychological appeal of this one.
All right, awesome. All right, guys, I am back with Melina part two. So we were going through the advertisements that
Mhm.
POTS is going to go ahead and put out to educate the public. So picking up where we left off. So this one here, this is the No Major Health Organization recommends routine male infant circumcision as a standard procedure.
I like this. I think because, first of all, the background colors are very soothing and they're progressive. So they go from one, they gradient over to the other color. So it's kind of like it's leading the mind from one perspective into another perspective. And technically, they're kind of like opposite colors. So it's like the full changing of the mind, right? So no major health organizations recommend. I like how you've got only those things jumping out rather than all of it, so it doesn't feel like it's yelling. I think it's great that you've got the ones that shows the legitimate trademark for the ones that do oppose it and that don't recommend. What's that top one? Royal Australian College of Physicians. Yeah, that's fantastic. American Academy of Pediatrics. Yeah, those guys, right? Have they always had no opinion, or
No,
they've
it
they've
expired
had
recently.
a
It ex
okay, and they've had they're terrible. They've had opinions that were not helpful in many cases. So I think this is really good. And for the reasons I said, I feel like it starts off soft and comfortable, kind of leads you over, and integrates the mind a little bit with the color transition, in my opinion. I think it's really great that you use the actual logos and not just a list of the names, because that is what sparks the recognition and what's familiar, which makes people feel more comfortable. They're like, oh yeah, well, I knew that. So yeah, and that really makes you also question. It's like, why over here in the comfortable blue do these guys oppose it? And then here in the middle, obviously the middle ground, even these guys don't recommend it. Then what's going on over here in yellow? Why is America not having an opinion on that? You know what I mean? I think that's really well done. I like that. I'd give that like a 9. I think that's really great.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, my only complaint with it, and I also made this, but my only complaint with it is it's a lot of words. It's very wordy. Um,
It is wordy, but the words are helpful because, I mean, I look at the logo and immediately I look below it. Oh, Royal Australian College of Physicians, because I'm not familiar with that one, but you educated me, right? I feel like the words are necessary because otherwise they're like, okay, well, what is that foreign language even saying right there? Oh, Swedish Medical Association. So, I mean, it is a lot of words, but that's just how many words are in the titles. I feel like you didn't go beyond that. You didn't add any unnecessary stuff. I really think you did good on this one.
All right, awesome. Now my question though is, did you like understand that these were supposed to be columns? Like these are opposing it and these are
Yeah.
do not. Okay, just making
Yeah, I
sure.
think, and I don't know if you meant to, but it really works out great that the columns each kind of have their own color. Definite oppose, have no opinion is the opposite of like a certain opinion. And then in between the middle ground, right? Where even those guys are like, yeah, we don't recommend it. We don't like super oppose it. But the colors do great on also conveying the columns idea.
Yeah, I did want the AAP to be highlighted because I know a lot of people are so in love with the AAP. They love quoting them for everything. That's why I did highlight them in like the yellow whenever I was
Hmm.
making this.
It jumps
So,
out more as the alarming, right?
yes, yes. All right,
Good.
awesome. So, I definitely appreciate your opinions on these, which brings us on to our next topic here. So, have you been following Prevail over the system at all?
A little bit, yeah, not super closely, but I always try to catch the headlines and sort of have an idea of a little bit about what's going on. But this last couple of weeks have been really hectic with family stuff and birthdays and things like that. So I haven't been super following just as of the my kids are home for the summer, so it's kind of like wild over there right now. But I do try to kind of watch a little bit because you guys are kind of like the news on what's happening in the intactivist community. I don't have to go look at every single thing in the intactivist community to have an idea of what's going on there because you guys do really great at just trying to cover everything that's current and that's going on or that's relevant. So I think that's awesome.
Okay, awesome. So, I think you're a perfect representation of a busy intactivist. So, do you know what the point of POTS is?
I guess if it's beyond, I just see it as like you guys are kind of covering like what's current. So am I wrong?
Well, that's one. That's one.
Okay.
We try to do six things, but the biggest one that
Okay.
we do try to hit on that for some reason it just escapes people is that okay, Intactivist, can you tell me what the main purpose of POTS is? Let me know down in the comments. I'll cover some of the answers we get in the news, if any. And if you all get it wrong, I swear, I will come out of this screen like the girl from the well and do bad, bad things. Do you guys want that? No, I don't think you guys do. Anyways, thank you all for watching. That was Melina, and we will have part 2 released next week with the answer. Also, don't forget to like this. It means a lot to us and the interviewee, I am sure. Okay, guys, thank you so much for watching. Bye.
We rise through precision, uplift transition.